Hey, welcome to day 81 and 82 of the Starting a Software Company project in 100 days, where we're building the app that you are looking at here called Playbook. If you've been following along with the videos, you know that it's actually more of we're starting a software company for internal purposes in 100 days. Given the fact that some of the complexity of the features that we're building have expanded a little more than we like, we have removed the goal to do a public launch of this in 100 days. So that also plays into the fact that I missed a day yesterday. So be it. Working on just checking some things off the to-do list, dotting I's and crossing T's. And so just wanted to show you today an example of one of the features that I think is going to add to the power of Playbook, but has a little more complexity than what we initially scoped out. Well, not necessarily what we initially scoped out, but what ended up getting built. So if I go to processes here and I go to my process templates, I have each one of these process templates that I have set up in my Playbook account. So I click set up as recurring, and it's successfully set up as recurring. Well, that doesn't really jive with, set up as recurring is like, what's the schedule? And so going back to what I initially had designed, here's the design. This is a screenshot from Figma. So we can repeat it every week, on every Monday, every day, every month, every year. But that just didn't get built. And so, maybe I wasn't as clear in the spec as what I intended to be, but yeah, that didn't get included in the first version. And so I take the blame for not being explicit in my specification. As you know, I built out one long spec for the first version of Harvest Profit, or not Harvest Profit, that's my other software company, Playbook, and then now we've switched into more of a to-do list, blocking and tackling. Frankly, should have probably started the blocking and tackling sooner, so we had this specific to-do defined rather than having it be built into a big, long specification. So here we are looking at the Basecamp to-do for this, for the recurring tasks. I show the Figma screenshot, and then I show how it should look, actually borrowing some UI from Google Calendar on how you can set up recurring meetings. And so we have it set up so you can pick a specific day. You can have it recur every 1 day, every 2 days. You can have it recur every week. You can have it recur every month, or you can have it recur every year. And so that's how we want to build the UI, and we want to build the background. Actually, they're called cron jobs. We're going to have it be every hour. We're going to run a cron job. So chronologically, we're going to run a job every hour to trigger any recurring events that any one of our users have. Well, this is a more defined spec. I should have done this probably, rather than waiting until day 60, 65, probably day 60. Should have done this at about day 30. So I should have spent the first 3 weeks, building the backbones of Playbook, and then switched into to-do mode versus, spending an extra 30, probably about a month, building off the initial specification. So that's a mistake I made, but so be it. We'll live with it. And so Abhay, who's done a great job working with the rough outline that I have given him, he brings up a lot of great questions here. And one of the main ones are, all right, what time zone are we going to use? Are we going to trigger them all at midnight or noon, or what time? So we're going to have to, once again, this shows that these type of features aren't simple, and they require some shaping, like that Basecamp book I shared with you a while back. Should have, when you're building a project, just a couple people, me being the somewhat leading the design, Abhay being the developer, we don't have the proper shaping. We don't have somebody that wears the shaping hat. Ideally, a team. So him and I are shaping the feature as we're building it, as we're building the spec. So he points out what time zone should we assume, what time of the day should we trigger these, and also if we edit, let's say we schedule this to go on the first Wednesday of every month for the next 10 years, a process. What if we edit the process? Are we going to edit future processes that are within that playbook? Are we going to replace them? And so he brings up a lot of great points and a lot of edge cases on, this is just a fairly complex product that we are building here. And ideally, if we had, let's say, a designer, 2 developers, myself, maybe somebody else in charge of product, we could take a couple of us and we could shape these features and mold them into a more of a finished state, and then give it to the developer and let them generate tasks, take the process, and really use the Basecamp methodology of shaping features before you hand them over to the developer. One person isn't an ideal shaping team. I know what I want. I think I have a pretty good taste for software. I understand a lot of the tools and techniques and technologies that go into building it, but the fact that I missed the time zone, the hour of the day, that should be done in a shaping process before you hand that off to the developer. And so I highly recommend reading the book Shape Up by Basecamp that I've alluded to here a couple times. And so that's what we're working on the last couple days. I think it's probably going to take a few more days. And other than that, if we go back if we look at the to-do list here for the web app, we need to be able to just do some editing of processes. We need to be able to do some, we need the recurring UI. That's what we're building here. We need to be able to have processes, have permissions in place for what people, what teams can see what processes. We need to kind of redesign the process design feature. So yeah, we have a lot of work left. No questions about it. 100 days was a little ambitious for all of the features that I think need to be in this, minimally exceptional product, not a minimum viable. We need this to be something that works great, we can be proud of. And yeah, it's going to take longer than we thought. So we'll see. Hope to keep the regular pace of these videos up as we continue to check things off the to-do list. But we are, the constraint of the 100 days is now removed, and we will talk about that here going forward, as that is definitely going to be going to present a challenge on where do we do a feature freeze, where do we freeze our scope of what we're doing here. And I hope to think about that here over the next day or two and post a video on my thoughts and how a fixed deadline allows you to make a scope of the project that fits the deadline. You only have a certain amount of time to do something, and you need to make your work fit into that time window. And we've kind of blown that whole process up here, and it's going to create some issues. So I will be commenting more on that in my next video. So that is day 81 and 82 combined. Thank you for following along, and we're just going to keep pressing on the gas pedal here and making progress. Thank you.